Of course, all of a sudden now everybody here is.
Shoot.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to AARP Kentucky on a beautiful Saturday morning here in Kentucky. Things are looking pretty good out there, and we are happy to be here today. We have some special guests coming on the show this morning to talk about the upcoming Markesbery Symposium on Aging and Dementia, which is Saturday, October 31. So make a note that is next Saturday, October 31, and it's going to be live streamed this year, and it's going to be different. Like everything else in 2020, you're going to be able to attend virtually. So that is a first. But we're going to have two special guests talking about the symposium and what exactly you can expect to learn and the research and the work that is groundbreaking at the Sanders Brown Center on Aging and Dementia at the University of Kentucky. One of Kentucky's leading institutions that is doing some fantastic research. So with us this morning is Mr. Hardin Stephen.
Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And the other guest is Dr. Donna Wilcock.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning. So what we want to do to get things going, let's just talk a little bit about what's coming up with the Sanders Brown Symposium. We are excited to be a part of it. We've been participating for the last couple of years in certain ways, but you know, Alzheimer's is a horrible disease, and Alzheimer's is right now 1 in 6 Kentuckians are affected by Alzheimer's. Stephen Hardin, can you tell us a little bit more about who should attend this and why?
Sure. The Markesbery Symposium, this is our 10th year, and it is in memory of Dr. William Markesbery, who was our groundbreaking original center director. It is for people that have concerns regarding their cognition and memory. It's also for loved ones who might care for those individuals. But it's also for people who are lifelong learners and want to learn more about what the latest research is showing in the field of Alzheimer's and dementia. So it really is for anyone. You do not have to have memory concerns to attend or to be a part of the center. So it's for the general public.
Thank you, Hardin. Dr. Wilcox, tell us a little bit more about your role and your history and your work at the Sanders Brown Center. And then maybe tell us a little bit more about the keynote speaker, Dr. Maria Carrillo.
Yeah, so we are really excited to have Dr. Carrillo with us this year. She's a very in-demand speaker. We've tried to get her for the last few years. We finally managed to get on her calendar. So she is the Chief Scientific Officer of the National Alzheimer's Association, and she's based out of Chicago, Illinois. She leads all of the major scientific initiatives out of Alzheimer's Association, and she drives actually a lot of the research priorities, I would say, in the field. She works very closely with the NIH to make sure that the research that's getting funded is the most important and the one that's going to deliver us the cures the most quickly. So my research focuses very much on the vascular contributions to dementia. So what that means is the role that our blood vessels in our brain and even in our body play in how well we function cognitively and behaviorally. And we find that as we age, our blood vessels age as well, and they don't work as well as they do when we're 20-year-olds. And if we have cardiovascular disease, we also know that the vessels in the brain have some disease as well. And I liken the blood vessels to the fuel line in your car. So if the fuel line isn't delivering the fuel to the engine's not going to work. And so we found that if the fuel lines in our brain, if the blood vessels in our brain don't work as well, the engine doesn't work, meaning that our neurons in the brain don't fire and our memories, aren't as good. We also find that people with Alzheimer's disease in their brain do tend to have damage to their blood vessels as well, just because of their age and cardiovascular disease. And we actually think that if we can improve the health of the vessels, that we can delay and prevent clinical dementia by making the brain more able to cope with the Alzheimer's disease and other changes that get thrown at it. So that's what my lab does. I'm fortunate to have some amazing colleagues at the Sanders Brown Center on Aging. I don't think I could do the research I do anywhere else. It's just a phenomenal group of people, and we're going to hear from some of them as well as Dr. Carrillo on Saturday.
Thank you, Dr. Wilcox. What we most often hear is families find themselves surprised and caught in a sudden caregiver role. What will the community session offer for folks that are caregivers? Will there be resources available before or during or after?
Well, yes, people can always reach out to us. It doesn't have to be, specifically during the Markesbery Symposium. There is not going to be a session specifically on caregiving this year. We try to vary it every year. But caregiving, as you mentioned, it is throughout. You can't talk about someone affected by this disease without including caregiving by their loved ones and family or by professional caregivers. So we will have people can reach out to us. We have two highly skilled family caregiver coordinators who work at the center, who do provide resources and interact with families. This year, we're looking at one of the presentations by our own faculty is going to be on medications and how medications affect your cognition as you age. With Dr. Daniela Moga. Dr. Moga has presented this information. I've seen her present this information, and it is always so well received regarding medications. And like Dr. Wilcox mentioned, as we age, our bodies process our medications differently, no matter how long we've taken a particular medication prior. And then we're also having Dr. Pete Nelson speak, and Dr. Nelson discovered or led a group that discovered a new form of dementia in 2019. And Pete is just a great guy and just top notch in his field. But in 2019, his discovery was ranked one of the top 25 discoveries by Discovery Magazine. So we, as Dr. Wilcox mentioned earlier, we are just fortunate to have the faculty we have at Sanders Brown.
Did we lose Scott?
Scott, did we lose you?
Nope.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm chatting away. No, but Hardin, you had talked about this year being one of the best years to attend, because why? There's no breakfast buffet this year.
Sure.
Talk about the Zoom session, and I know some folks are probably a little concerned about using Zoom. Talk a little bit about that and how the session is going to flow.
Well, sure. We are going to miss seeing everybody face to face, and as Scott referred to, we always have breakfast buffet, and people always enjoy coming out and seeing their friends, and we enjoy interacting with people who come out. But this year, everything's changed due to COVID. And the silver lining, as far as the Markesbery Symposium, is it doesn't matter where you are. You can join us and watch from the comfort of your home or your couch or wherever your setup is, your dining room. And so you don't have to get up early on a usually cold fall Saturday morning and come down to the Lexington Convention Center. You can... we ask that you register beforehand, and you can do that through the Sanders Brown website. What you do is go and register for the community session. We ask for your name and an email address. You will receive an email confirmation that will have in it a link that on the morning of Saturday, October 31st, about 9:50, if you turn on your computer, click on that link, and you will be, voila, at the Markesbery Symposium, along with, we hope, many, many others. Again, Sanders Brown is based here at UK, but we really do have a regional outreach. We reach people from all across the state of Kentucky, but also we have people from other states, nearby states, who are involved with us. So no matter where you are, you can pre-register for the Markesbery Symposium, and then next Saturday morning, just like this, click a link and you can join us. And again, as Dr. Wilcox said earlier, the presenters are world-class presenters, just a wealth of information regarding this topic that is definitely near and dear to our hearts. And we are working every day at the center to try to find a treatment or a cure for this disease and to improve everyone's brain health.
I know I've attended the session a couple of years past, and I know that the research is astounding and the discoveries that you all are making. Dr. Wilcox, is there anything else that you want to add to what Hardin's just talked about?
Yeah, so I do want to add, I think Hardin highlighted one of the most popular topics that we've had, which is from Dr. Daniela Moga, who's going to talk about medication use and how sometimes medications can impact our cognitive processing. And so we've been asked a lot of questions by the community about this. So we thought that would be a great presentation to have. And also, I think a lot of people saw last year, as Hardin said, the discovery by Sanders Brown researchers, driven by Dr. Pete Nelson, as well as others around the country, but really Dr. Nelson led this team about a newly identified, a newly characterized type of dementia called late. And what's interesting about late is that the symptoms can really look like Alzheimer's disease. The earliest stages of Alzheimer's disease where short-term memory is impacted. And but it typically is in our older people. It's older than we usually see Alzheimer's disease, and it can be confused. But what's really important about late is that it's caused by a different protein in the brain. And so as we move towards treatments, which, we're all, I think this is the most optimistic I've seen the field, that we're going to have some treatments very soon. Those treatments are targeting specific proteins that are tied to specific diseases. So if we think someone has Alzheimer's, but they have late, and we start treating them for Alzheimer's disease, that treatment's not going to help. And so identifying this form of dementia is really, really important, because now we can start to what we call precision medicine, which is personalized medicine, if you like. That's saying that, yes, you have dementia, but you have this type of dementia. And so now we're going to have a treatment for this type of dementia. And that's where the field is really moving. And I got to say, I really believe Sanders Brown is leading the way on that. To your question about caregiver support, we do sometimes have dedicated speakers talking about caregiving. We did not do that this year, but what we do have always at the Markesbery is a question and answer panel. Mm-hmm. And so I would strongly encourage anybody who has, questions or concerns. I think, Scott, you said, people are really surprised by this diagnosis, blindsided by it a lot of times. And there's always so many questions. And so this is really an opportunity to ask world leaders. Dr. Carrillo is going to join us on the panel, as well as our Sanders Brown researchers, and Dr. Jiker, our clinician, who many of our listeners, I'm sure, are familiar with. And so there'll be an opportunity, even though it won't be in person, there will be an opportunity to ask your questions to the panel. There is a chat function in the Zoom, and so people will go ahead and enter their questions in that chat box. They'll type it in. I will be moderating the question and answer session, and so what I've typically done in the past is there tends to be a lot of questions around the same theme. And so I try and, even if we don't get to your specific question, we'll for certain get to the topic of your question. And then, as Hardin said, we're always available for people to reach out. And we want to support everybody who is living with this disease as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And if you're just joining us, we are talking about the University of Kentucky's Sanders Brown Center on Aging. And it's a global leader in the research field, and especially its community outreach. So this symposium is Saturday, October 31, beginning at 9:55 a.m. There's no charge to attend. It will be virtual, as we all know. Things are moving to Zoom and other platforms. But that will be Saturday, October 31. Registration is free, and the registration is online. You can go to the University of Kentucky Sanders Brown Center on Aging. The URL is below, but you can also Google Markesbery Symposium, and boom, all kinds of stuff comes up. So there's a lot of resources that are available to you as a family caregiver and family member that is valuable during this community session. So we're excited to see it come back again and help support it. Let's go back to Hardin. Hardin, is there anything else we should tell folks? We got a little video clip at the end that's going to talk a little bit more about Sanders Brown, but anything else folks should know about the symposium?
No, again, it is open to everyone. You do not, as I said earlier, you do not have to have a loved one or you yourself having memory issues. I think sometimes people equate that in the center. We work with people of all cognition levels. I think that was one of the geniuses of Dr. Markesbery. And so we just encourage everybody to join us. As you said, Scott, it's free. You're hearing from world-class leaders in their field, and all it takes is a few clicks of the button in your PJs on your couch at home to participate. So again, I want to thank Scott and AARP for having us on this morning.
Yeah, many thanks, Scott. And just to reiterate, what Hardin said, I know your listeners are probably mostly older adults, but this is not an older adult problem. It's an everybody problem, and more and more younger people have relatives living with dementia, and I think for them to understand what this disease involves, how you can keep a normal, healthy, aging brain. We think more and more now that early and middle age health is so important to preventing dementia later in life. Evidence that it's not necessarily high blood pressure when you're very old, but midlife blood pressure elevations can increase your risk of dementia 20 and 30 years down the road. So we really encourage all ages to attend. We're not just going to talk about Alzheimer's disease and people with Alzheimer's disease now. We're going to talk about what people can do to prevent this disease when they get older. And so I would definitely encourage people of all ages to attend. Students, if you want to learn more, if you're a budding medical student, you're going to be dealing with patients with this disease when you're a doctor. And the more you can learn, the more understanding you'll have, and then the more empathy for those patients. So anybody and everybody should think about joining. It's a free event.
And I think that's an important note, Dr. Wilcock. There is a community session that begins at 9:55 in the morning, and then there is the scientific session.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Just maybe take a minute, tell us a little bit more about the scientific session for medical providers.
So the scientific session is it's more for experts who will understand the science of everything, but we have just 2 amazing speakers this year. And the beauty of the virtual world that we're living in, the silver lining of this situation, is that we are able to get these speakers because they don't have to fly into Lexington and spend 2 days here and fill their calendar up. They can, as Hardin said, get on their PJs, they can give their presentation, and they can go back to their daily life. And so our speakers this year for the scientific session are Dr. Ron Peterson. Now, we had him for the regulars of Markesbery. He was our speaker a few years ago at the community session. But he leads the Mayo Clinic Alzheimer's Center, and he is famous for being the doctor that diagnosed Ronald Reagan. So that's his claim to fame, if you like. He says it's not fame. Nobody wants to diagnose the president with dementia, but he is truly a world leader in dementia research, and a very in-demand person. You can imagine that. So he's our speaker. He's going to talk about mild cognitive impairment, so the very early changes that we're able to detect before it's truly a dementia, and what strides we're making in being able to diagnose people early, because we really think that early diagnosis is going to be key to treating and preventing further progression. The second speaker that we have from another institution is a leader in genetics, Dr. Allison Goat, and she is based out of New York. She does not have a New York accent. She sounds like me. She's English, but she's a leader in studying genetic risk. So this is not necessarily if you have a gene, you will get the disease, but this is if you have these gene variants that you might have inherited, from your parents and grandparents. They may increase your risk a little bit, or they may protect you a little bit from disease. And so she's really a leader in trying to combine all this information and distill it. And many of you will have heard of the 23andMe and everything that you can do you can get a genetic profile. So a lot of the information you get from that is based on research that the likes of Allison Goat and others do, where they say, well, if you have this type of a gene and this type of a gene and this type of a gene, you're at an increased risk.
So she's going to talk about her latest research on genetics of Alzheimer's disease. And then we also have many what we call poster presentations. Think about science fair in high school. But these are presentations by our trainees, as well as some of our faculty. And they're going to happen throughout the lunch period. So the scientific session is, again, it's a free event. It is higher level. We welcome community individuals. We have some, we call, frequent flyers of our Markesbery, and they'll come to both events every year, and they get a lot out of both. So yeah, the scientific session is designed more for help for professionals and researchers, but anybody is free to attend.
And that is Monday, November the 9th.
Thank you, Hardin.
The scientific session is separate from the community event. So just wanted to, but again, if people go to our website, they'll see that those 2 dates.
Thank you, Hardin, because that is a big difference on those dates. But again, the Sanders Brown Center on Aging is going to host its annual symposium for the community beginning Saturday morning, October 31 at 9:55 a.m. And it's terrific. I can tell you, I've been there several times. And the speaker, the qualities, it's kind of inspiring too, because I want to offer an opinion. I think the Sanders Brown research is going to find that solution. I mean, I think you all are leading the way there, and it's impressive that University of Kentucky has such important research going on and such a terrific opportunity to help so many. Because I know every family probably knows someone that's touched by dementia or Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, what was amazing to me, I've been here 10 years nearly, was how little Sanders Brown is known in the local community, in the national and even international, Alzheimer's research community. Sanders Brown, I was at Duke. I know we don't say that in Kentucky, but I was at Duke before I came here, and I mean, I'd always heard about Sanders Brown as a leading institute, and it really struck me when I came here. I would say where I was working, and people were like, oh, where is that? So it's it's definitely a leader in the field, and I appreciate your comments, Scott. I mean, we all work there because we believe that we can be on the leading edge of this, and we can find the treatments and cures. So I appreciate you having the faith in us as well.
Well, I'm proud of the research, and most people are familiar with the brain study with the nuns, and that was led by Sanders Brown, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was.
I mean, that was some groundbreaking research. Well, I want to thank you both this morning. Again, we're talking about the Markesbery Symposium, the 10th annual Markesbery Symposium, coming up next Saturday, October 31, Halloween. And it's a free community Zoom session. You can Zoom in. Registration is simple. It's online, and just Google Sanders Brown Markesbery Symposium and save the date. Hardin, any final words from you?
No, not at this time. I just hope people can join us. And also, again, another silver lining of the technology. If you can't stay for the whole thing, then you can, zoom out, as Scott was saying earlier. So again, I know people have other responsibilities, and so maybe you can just stay for one or two speakers. We encourage you to stay for the whole thing, but if your schedule is not able to do that, please join us for what you can.
All right. And we have the registration URL at the bottom of the page.
Get there.
So you'll be able to find it. But I have to say, and I want to put in the plug, I mean, I'm a big fan of Dr. Greg Jica. I've seen his presentations many times. And folks, let me tell you, he's worth the price of admission, which is free.
Yeah. Yes, it is free. Dr. Jaika is very knowledgeable and very enthusiastic about his work.
All right. Well, have a great day. We're going to close out with a interview that Kentucky Sports Radio did on Sanders Brown.
Yeah, and this video.
You want to set that up?
Well, Kentucky Sports Radio contacted us. This was from their TV show, and this it's about 4 minutes in length, and it just kind of gives you a very broad overview of the center. It gives you a good introduction to the work and the mission of Sanders Brown Center on Aging.
And before we leave, Scott, I just want to thank the AARP. You guys have been such great partners in this event for some years now, and you know, it takes a village, and we're really glad you're part of our village. So thank you.
All right. Well, here we go. Thank you both. Everybody have a great day.
You too, Scott. Thank you.
You too, Scott. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Take care.
Thank you.
Are going to donate their brains so that we can study what not only goes wrong, but what goes right with aging in the brain.
The answer to the trivia question of the place in the country where there are more people than any other place that are involved in clinical trials for Alzheimer's disease is right here at the University of Kentucky. This is the #1 place in the country for that, bar none.
People are really confused about that, thinking that we only want people with Alzheimer's disease in the later stages who already have lost so much in their lives. And yes, we want those folks. We want to help those folks, and we want them to help us move closer to cures, but also people in the community, people with mild memory problems, people with no memory problems whatsoever are the target of many of our different studies that are seeking to try to prevent Alzheimer's disease.
The strength of what we do is based upon these research volunteers. They come in every year for a very thorough testing.
Every year I go in for testing, and they have these tests that are testy. They're basic things, but it is finding out in my brain where I'm at in life and how I've advanced year by year by year. And I continue to do that, and will up to the day that I pass on from this world to wherever I'm going.
Dementia is a clinical syndrome. It means basically that your memory is shot and you can't do things that you normally can do, like bathe yourself and take your groceries and calculate your taxes. Yeah. So that's dementia. Alzheimer's disease is a subtype of the diseases that causes dementia. And it turns out a lot of people that have dementia don't have Alzheimer's disease. And so we've been treating people as though they all have the same disease, but there are a lot of different diseases going on. And the University of Kentucky has been really at the forefront of figuring that out. It sort of gets a stereotype of that it's a memory disease, but it actually affects a lot more than that in terms of your behavior and your ability to interact with people.
We do a lot of things out in the community, both for caregivers as well as for people with dementia. If they have questions about how to deal with dementia, what does a family do when they're learning to live with dementia?
For us to be educated to learn that role as a caregiver, to accept what's there and then get on with it, and then help the others understand that that's not really mom as we knew her, but it's mom as she is today, to accept it. That's a tough role.
What role do you foresee the Sanders Brown Center having on preventing and curing Alzheimer's disease?
What's happening now, as you're seeing around the country, is people are turning around and saying, we need to study normal aging. We have been studying normal aging for 30 years. And so we're 30 years ahead.
Someday we're going to find that cure. which we haven't yet, but that's the only way you can attack it. And up to this day, Sanders Brown has been the leader in that.
The first place that people are going to get cures is going to be right here. This is the place where it's going to happen, and that's exciting.
If you are interested in becoming a participant in the studies at the Sanders Brown Center on Aging, call the number on your screen. Any person of any cognitive level is encouraged to become a volunteer. Back to you all in the studio.